Hello guys, and welcome to a brand new series that I'm going to be doing on this channel, and it is called Amazon Lord of the Rings TV series characters. And in this series we're going to be looking at all of the different characters in Tolkien's works that could be shown and actually be in Amazon's new Lord of the Rings TV series. So this is a bit like the Amazon TV series map location series. We look at different places, but this time we're looking at different characters and how they could be played in the series and what events they were in could also be shown in the TV series. So as the other, like the other series, we're going to be looking at their origin story, where they were from and where they were in the Second Age, or what events happened in the Second Age that they were in, and then we're going to look at the rest of their history. So let's start with today's episode with Elrond. Elrond, also known as Master Elrond, was the Lord of Rivendell and was also the ring bearer of Vilya, one of the three elven rings, and he was a regent and a captain for Gil-galad in the Second Age. He was born 532 of the First Age, and he ruled from Second Age 1697 to Third Age 3021. And his death it wasn't really a death in some sense, as he departed to Aman on September 29, 3021. And by that means he went into west to the Undying Lands to live off the rest of his days with the rest of the elves. And the realms he was in and was in charge of for a bit and also lived in were Lindon and Rivendell. And his spouse was Celebrian, and his children were Arwen, that we see in Lord of the Rings, and the two twins, Elrohir and Elladan. And his parentage were Erendil, his father, and Elwing, his mother, and Maglor, his foster father, who was one of the sons of Feanor and actually took Elrond as his son for a bit as well. And his siblings, obviously Elros, who is his twin, who we're also going to do a video on, and in fact Elros was the first king of Numenor and chose to take the life of a man as well, which is quite interesting. Now let's go on some descriptions of him. So he's half elven because he was given a choice, and we'll look into that in a future video as well. He has dark hair and he has grey eyes. Now let's get into the actual history of Elrond, and we're going to start in the First Age. So Elrond, who was half elven, was a son of Elendil and Elwing, and was the great-grandson of Luthien, and Luthien married Beren, and that's one of the great tales of Tolkien. And he was born in the havens of Sirion in Beleriand in the late First Age, and obviously Beleriand sank in the First Age. And soon after the sack by the sons of Feanor, Elrond and his twin brother Elros were captured and raised by Maglor, a son of Feanor, and this is what I was talking about before. And then, though there was no great love between them, eventually Maglor took pity on them and cherished them and loved them like he was their own son. And by the end of the First Age, and after the War of Wrath, one of the mightiest battles in Tolkien's Legendarium, the sons of Feanor were again working alone. And by looking at this, it was probably that at this time that Elrond and Elros had actually left their normal captivity and travelled to Lindon, who we also done Amazon Lord of the Rings TV series map location video on, so check that out as well. So now let's go on to the Second Age and the bits that they could actually be shown in the TV series, but from so far we know that Elrond has now left Maglor and is travelling with his brother Elros to Lindon to carry on his journey. Now let's get into the Second Age and the bit that could actually be shown in Amazon's TV series. So let's start. Elrond and Elros were given the choice at the end of the First Age to be counted among men or elves. I was talking about this before, and Elros, he chose the fate of men and became Elros Tar Minuarta, the first king of Numenor. However, Elrond chose to be counted among the elves and remained in Lindon. As you know, he's travelled with his brother and now he's here, and became captain and herald of Gil-galad, the High King of Noldor. And in 1695 of the Second Age, Elrond was sent to Eregion by Gil-galad in an attempt to protect it from the invading forces of Sauron. But unfortunately, Elrond's host was too weak, and they were unable to hold off Sauron's army. This led him to retreat back north with a host of elves out of Erugion, including Celeborn, and remained ever watchful of Sauron from there. It was during the following 2 years, Second Age 1697, that Elrond founded Rivendell at the feet of the Misty Mountains, which to this day in Middle-earth survived as one of the last remaining strongholds against Sauron at the end of the Third Age and into the Fourth. And after this, all the elves under Gil-galad, Círdan, Elrond, and the men of Númenor all defeated Sauron in 1701 of the Second Age, and Elrond remained in Rivendell and hosted the first White Council that we saw in the Hobbit movies, and attended by Galadriel, at which was decided that Elrond's home, the last house west of the Misty Mountains, and that the three rings that held by Gil-galad and Galadriel would remain hidden. It is also said at this time that Elrond first met Celebrian, the daughter of Celeborn and Galadriel, and his future spouse and wife. Moving into near the end of the Second Age, Elrond rode beside Gil-galad in the last alliance of elves and men, which set out from Rivendell to Mordor in 3431 of the Second Age. Elrond, as said before, was Gil-galad's herald during this war against Sauron. The alliance, which included elves from Lorien, men from Arnor, Gondor, Dorsum, led by Durin the Fourth, eventually defeated Sauron's army and laid siege to Barad-dûr for 7 years. And then finally Sauron himself was defeated when he came out, and he saw the war was nearly ending. He thought the only way he could win was actually coming out and fighting himself, and this allowed the ring to be cut off his hand by Isildur. And then Isildur claimed the ring for himself. The Battle of the Last Alliance is one of, if not the biggest events that happened in the Second Age, and should most likely be shown in Amazon's Lord of the Rings TV series. And Elrond played a massive part in this as well, as you can see from the start of the Fellowship of the Ring film adaptations, and he played a massive part as being Gil-galad's herald and captain as well. And then when Gil-galad did eventually die, he was given this rule, but then he declined it as well and did not want to become a High King, and even that shows how much of an influential person he was in the Second Age, and he should have a major part and be one of the main characters in the show. And we're going to get into a bit how this could be possible, but you can see how influential he was in the Second Age. Now let's finish off the rest of his history, and there's still more to go about events that happened with him in the Second. Carrying on into near the end of the Second Age, this war took a toll on both the forces of men and elves. Gil-galad, Elendil, and his younger son, Anarion, were killed in the siege. Elrond and Círdan only remained as the commanders of the elves, and Isildur as Lord of Men. Upon discovering that Isildur had claimed the One Ring for himself, Elrond urged Isildur to throw the ring into the fires of Mount Doom. But this seduction of the ring made Isildur refuse, and then Isildur claimed the ring for himself and for his father and brother, and became the High King of Arnor and Gondor. While Elrond returned to Rivendell, and this is the last of the story of Elrond's story in the Second Age. And let's just wrap up his history. Then I've got some interesting things to say about him and the TV series. We are going to quickly cover the Third Age. So in 109 of the Third Age, Elrond wedded Celebrian, and in 130 of the Third Age, he had the twins Elladan and Elrohir, and in Third Age 241, a daughter Arwen. But Elrond lost Celebrian in 2510 of the Third Age, as she was killed by orcs while crossing the Misty Mountains, and unable to recover, and took a ship to the Undying Lands. And then in the rest of the story, Elrond brought up Aragorn, and most of his events were in the War of the Ring. And for example, the biggest one is probably the Council of Elrond, where they decided what to do with the One Ring. And also some White Council meetings happened as well with Gandalf and Galadriel, and And he also helped Thorin to take his expedition to retake the Lonely Mountain, as well as we see in The Hobbit. And then the last we see of Elrond is when he sails west with Frodo, Bilbo, and Gandalf, and Galadriel as well. And that's the last time we see of him in Middle-earth. So now let's come back on course to the TV series and seeing what impact he could have there. So just to quickly talk about now, we're going to talk about Elrond in the Second Age. And I think he should be one of the main characters of the TV series, as the Second Age is basically the rise of Elrond and how he became the person we see him in the Lord of the Rings in the Third Age. Because at the start he was just with his brother, he had made the choice to be an elf, and he was riding to Lindon to be under Gil-galad, and this can be shown in the start of the TV series and seeing him grow throughout the years, see him become Gil-galad's basically his general, and then the person who should be taking on the mantle after War of the Last Alliance and become the High King for Elves, but obviously he did not choose this. So we can just see this rise to see Elrond become so important. And while talking about Elrond, it was actually said that he has been casted in the TV series by Robert Aramayo, and he will be playing young Elrond. And originally, Will Poulter was meant to play as well, and I believe that Will Poulter looks much more like Elrond and have physical abilities. If you just put like a black wig on him, he has the eyes free, he has everything. But obviously, he's been let go. But young Elrond has been casted, and it is most likely that he will be a main character in the TV series, as Robert Aramayo is meant to be a main character as well. Overall, it's great to know that Elrond has been cast in the series, and two actors now have been casted to play him, which means he must be such an influential figure in the show, which is really good, as he's such an interesting character, as the Second Age is basically Elrond's age, as he grows and becomes this mighty elf general and leader. But that's it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and hopefully enjoy this new series, as there's many more characters to do. Basically, like and subscribe, but until then, and until next Saturday, goodbye.